When it comes to most video games, dying isn't really an issue. You always have extra lives or a conveniently placed autosave to spare you the trouble of starting everything over. However, some games like to make death feel more consequential by forcing you to fully restart whenever you get a game over. Then there are the games that push this concept even further. They only let you die once. Yes, in some cases, death isn't just an inconvenience or even a full reset of your progress. You only have one chance to finish your run, and if you die along the way, you'll never be able to play it again. You never get your character back, the world changes completely, and the run you've had is gone forever. In some extreme cases, the game won't even allow you to play it after you die. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video games where you can only die once. Number 10, ZOMBIU. ZOMBIU is one of those early 2010s games that spawned out of the zombie apocalypse craze at the time. However, unlike its competitors, the game has a rather unique approach to emphasizing the dread of trying to survive the undead uprising. Every death in ZOMBIU is permanent. Even though the game features a save system, whenever you die, you don't get to play as your character again. Instead, you're spawned into the world as another survivor, and your previous one is turned into a zombie. For this reason, no single run is the same, and as you may imagine, this makes for some interesting gameplay. Each time you die, you need to reacquaint yourself with your surroundings and your new character, and then venture out into the world to find your previous self and take back your belongings from their zombified body. Of course, it can be frustrating to lose a character that you've grown attached to, but then again, this feeling is exactly what ZOMBIU relies on to make your post-apocalyptic struggle all the more intense. If you want your favorite survivor to get a happy ending, you need to make extra sure no zombies are getting free nibbles from them. Number 9, you only live once. Back in the day, Newgrounds used to be the site for the most outlandish and creative flash games on the internet. One game was You Only Live Once, a platformer where, as the name suggests, you only have one chance to make it through an obstacle course. Unlike Mario and other conventional platformers, You Only Live Once doesn't have extra lives for you to spare when you get hit by an enemy or fall down a pit. Instead, it gives you 5 hearts to let you survive a few hits, but when you lose them all, you die. You don't get any options to continue, and you don't get to go back to the menu and start over. You're just dead. That said, the game isn't technically over. When you try to restart, it will progress through time to show you what happens after you die. For example, if you died to an enemy, you'll see them calling an ambulance for you, then get arrested for your murder. Then it'll just be your lonely grave, standing right where you were done in. This is a level of realism even Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't deliver. Number 8, Rogue Legacy. Rogue Legacy is not your ordinary roguelike. Normally, the genre is all about starting over. You choose your character, you enter a dungeon, you try to survive as long as you can, and when you inevitably die, you just rinse and repeat. Not in Rogue Legacy, however. The game never lets you pick the same character again. The entire gimmick of Rogue Legacy is that you don't play as a single hero. Instead, you play as an entire lineage of them, meaning that when your character dies, they don't come back, and you play as one of their descendants instead. Every hero in your family tree has only one life to spare, so getting attached to them is pretty much guaranteed to end with bitter disappointment and an obligatory fit of rage. On the other hand, the randomly generated roster of descendants keeps the game interesting for much longer. Not to mention, if you manage to reach the ending, you get to see how many descendants it took to get there. Nothing hits harder than knowing you had to sacrifice decades of your bloodline to get where you are. Number 7, Project ZOMBOID. Whenever you start a new game in Project ZOMBOID, the loading screen informs you that the run you're about to embark on is the story of, quote, how you died. It might sound like an exaggeration, but in truth, the post-apocalyptic world of Project ZOMBOID really is that ruthless. Unlike other survival games out there, Project ZOMBOID does not have an easy mode in which you're allowed to reload your save file. Everything you do is recorded in real time, and if you happen to die at any point of your journey through zombie-infested Kentucky, your character is lost forever. The only way to continue playing in your world is to make a new character that will inevitably die there as well. The death system in this game is seriously brutal, as it doesn't take much to lose your character's precious life. Zombie bites, although a guaranteed death sentence, are actually the least of your worries. It's more likely your character will die of food poisoning or by stabbing themselves with a broken shard of glass. Anyone who's ever played Project ZOMBOID knows the pain of losing a veteran survivor with thousands of zombie kills to gravity in a flight of stairs. Number 6, RIMWORLD. RIMWORLD is a wonderfully traumatizing, unpredictable game. Set in a distant future where humanity has colonized planets both close and far away, RIMWORLD puts you in charge of a colony of survivors and tasks you with making sure they safely escape from their middle middle of nowhere death planet. The game includes several modes to tailor your experience to your individual needs, including a permadeath commitment mode, which ensures your run will be a one-of-a-kind challenge. Because the game features a plethora of randomly generated elements, from colonists to maps, events, and even things like item descriptions, nothing is ever the same. Combine this with the fact that your unique colonists are walking death magnets, and the fact that at any point your narrator can decide to drop toxic fallout on their heads, and the permadeath mode becomes a truly unique experience. One fatal mistake can wipe your entire colony off the map and make it a distant memory, never to be recreated again. Number 5. Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey. Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey is an open-world survival game in which you try to guide a tribe of early humans throughout their evolutionary journey. As you might expect from its prehistoric setting, your tribe's life is not easy, and it'll require enduring a lot of danger and hardships for them to reach the final step of their evolution. This is reflected in one of the key features of the game, the fact that each member of your tribe only has one life to live. That's right, every time you take the reins of a particular primate in your group, you're given full responsibility for their existence. You need to safely guide them to the moment when they can bestow their DNA onto the next generation of humans, and if you fail along the way, they become an evolutionary dead link forever. Ancestors features several ruthless death animations for those who couldn't watch over their primates correctly, including stuff like slowly bleeding to death and even getting mauled by a giant centipede. And once you finish watching your previous protege suffer a gruesome end, you instantly get another to take care of, or maybe just doom as well. Evolution truly is a cruel mistress. Number 4. Reigns. Reigns is a card-based strategy game where you play as a king who learned the ropes of ruling over a realm on Tinder. Each decision in the game appears in the form of a card that you have to swipe left or right, and if this doesn't sound at all intense, it's because you haven't learned about the consequences of what springs from each decision. Reigns features 4 stats for your kingdom that you have to balance with each choice. Failing to keep all of them above 0 or letting one of them go higher than the rest will result in your kingdom experiencing a crisis, and then shortly after, the gruesome end of your king. Because the game doesn't feature a save system of any kind, the death of your king is permanent, and the only way to continue playing is through your heir, that is, if you've managed to get one. Because each king comes with a unique background and traits, this also means that you'll never be able to play the same run again. After all, it's kinda hard to run a kingdom after you've been burned at the stake and chopped into tiny pieces. Number 3. WILDFROST. WILDFROST is a 2023 roguelike deck builder about a village of adventurers trying to save their world from an eternal winter. Despite its cute art style, the game has become notorious for being extremely difficult, partially due to the fact that the tiniest mistake will cost you the life of your adventurer forever. Each time you start a run, you'll get to choose from 3 randomly generated heroes. Each has a unique ability and appearance, which means 2 things. 1, no matter how much you play, you won't come across the same character twice. And 2, if your character dies at any point, you won't be able to play as them ever again either. Each hero only has 1 chance to save their frozen land, which can be especially brutal when you've rolled an incredibly powerful character and they die due to a completely stupid and predictable mistake. Worst of all, WILDFROST keeps track of every character that dies in a special record book, so you can never forget about all the poor souls you've doomed during your playthrough. Ah yes, Survivor's Guild, everyone's favorite fun activity. Number 2. DayZ. With the rise of titles such as Rust and more recently Valheim and the new Sons of the Forest, the online survival genre has become a pretty significant part of the gaming industry. However, the one game that was there from the start and contributed to the spread of the genre's popularity is definitely DayZ. Though many would criticize DayZ for its gameplay, which can be boiled down to hiding around in the bushes for hours and then dying to a random player shooting you in the back, at the same time, the game did popularize the concept of permadeath survival. The main concept of DayZ is that death isn't just a novelty, and its dedicated permadeath servers remind the players of that fact in a pretty devastating manner. Whenever you die on a permadeath server, your character is removed from the game, and you can't respawn on the server ever again. As you can imagine, this can be a pretty rough situation for someone who spent their whole week gathering supplies and then lost them all to a random encounter with a not-so-friendly stranger. At least you know they won't be enjoying your stuff for very much longer either. Number 1. One Shot. One Shot is a truly unique game in which you play as, well, yourself. guiding a small cat child named Nico along her journey to save the world. What makes this title special is that you actually have only one chance to play it. Regardless of which ending you get, the game will not allow you to continue or start over, unless you do a little bit of data manipulation in your system's file folders. And yes, dying also counts as an ending. Now, although this feature was removed for the Steam version of One Shot, in the original release, when the player would exit, it would count as them abandoning Nico and her world, meaning that you were dooming her to a certain death. Upon opening, Nico would be nowhere to be seen, and starting a new run would take you to Nico's dark and eerily empty room instead. There was no way to revert this state other than by meddling with the game data directly. Now, you might say that quitting a game being equivalent to giving up on its world is a little extreme, but on the other hand, it's incredibly memorable. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comments section if you can think of any other video games where you can only die once. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, you can come say hi to me on my X account where I'm at Jess McDonald if you would like, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness. Thank you.